morning and welcome to the FCClubhouse Online. I'm so glad you guys are able to join us this week as we have been doing our series called Fall Festivals. And so we're getting ready to talk about week 3 of our next game. And so before we do that, we're going to get ready for our question of the week. And so it's going to be on the screen. I'd love for you guys to answer it in the comments. But I want to know, what is your favorite time of the year? So before we get ready to talk about the next game at our fall festival, we're going to get ready for a time of worship. And so I want to encourage you to stand on up and sing and dance with me as we really just come together and worship God because He's so good to us and He's so worthy of our praise. So I'd love for you to join me in that.
Dry. Sing it out. It's an open heaven you're releasing, and we will never be denied. Cause we're stirring up. Cause we're stirring up deep, deep wells. We're stirring up deep, deep waters. We're gonna dance in the river. Dance in the river. Cause we're stirring up wells, stirring up deep, deep waters. We're gonna jump in the river, jump in the river. Deep cries out, deep cries out, deep cries out, deep cries out, we cry out to you, Jesus. And I've got a river of living water, will run dry. No more now. It's an open heaven you're releasing, and we will never be denied. Cause we're stirring up. Cause we're stirring up deep, deep wells. We're stirring up deep, deep waters. We're gonna dance in the river. Dance in the river. Cause we're stirring up deep, deep wells. We're stirring up deep, deep waters. We're gonna jump in the river. Jump in. And everybody sing it out. Deep cries out, deep cries out, deep cries out, deep cries out. We cry out to you, Jesus. Deep cries out, deep cries out. Deep cries out, deep cries out. We cry out to you, Jesus. We're falling into deeper waters, calling out to you. We're walking into deeper waters, going after you. Yeah, clap your hands. You guys ready? Here we go. And if he goes to the left, then we'll go to the left. And if he goes to the right, then we'll go to the right. We're gonna jump, 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 jump in the river. Jump, 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 everybody. If he goes to the left, then we'll go to the left. And if he goes to the right, then we'll go to the right. We're gonna dance, 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 dance in the river. Dance, 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 everybody. If he goes to the left, then we'll go to the left. And if he goes to the right, then we'll go to the right. We're gonna jump, 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 jump in the river. Jump, 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 everybody. If he goes to the left, then we'll go to the left. And if he goes to the right, then we'll go to the right. We're gonna be the shining light, breaking chains that were holding me. You sent your son down and set me free. Everything of this world will fade. I'm pressing on till I see your face. I will live that your will be done. I won't stop till your kingdom come. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Oh, oh, oh. You are my freedom. We lift you higher. You are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh.
So we've already talked about 2 games in our Fall Festival series. We spent the first week talking about the game Bobbing for Apples. Last week we looked at the pumpkin ring toss. And so today we're going to be talking about a game that probably wasn't as popular back in the day, but is becoming more and more popular now. People play it at picnics, at gatherings, parties. And it's a really, really simple game, but it's called cornhole. And so what the idea of this game is usually you can do this with teams, you can do this by yourself, but you have these 2 boards set up, and you guys take turns tossing these colorful bean bags onto the board. And so you get points based on just being able to get onto the board, if you can get your bean bag into the hole that's on the board. And if you get the most points at the end of the game, usually you play to 21, and then you end up winning the game. And this game actually takes a little bit of strategy. Actually, sometimes there's a little bit of an advantage if you actually can toss second, because if you toss second, you have a chance to knock someone else's beanbag off, or something along that line. And so that kind of puts a whole different idea of what Jesus was saying when he said, the last shall be first. And because Jesus, he actually said those words when he was talking to his disciples, and even for us, and it's that we shouldn't just seek the kingdom first. Jesus doesn't really want us going around, fighting everybody and trying to figure out who's going to be the leader, who gets to sit at the best seat at the table. Instead, Jesus called his disciples to be servants, to put people first instead of themselves. And so we're going to be looking at a passage where Jesus really gets to teach this lesson. And so we're going to be opening up Matthew 20. And so I'm going to put it on the screen, but I'd love for you guys to follow along with me as we look at Matthew 20. And when we see read through Jesus' teachings and his ministry, we see Jesus really emphasizing this idea to put others first before yourselves. And so we're going to be reading Matthew 20, starting at verse 20. And so I'd love for you to join me. Then the mother of Zebedee's son came to Jesus and her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. "What is it you want?" he asked. She said, "Grant that one of these 2 sons of mine may sit at your right and on the other at your left in your kingdom." "You don't know what you are asking," Jesus said to them. "Can you drink the cup I am going to drink?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the 2 brothers. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So I imagine before this conversation in the passage that we read, I picture the 2 sons. They're going up to their mom and saying, "Hey, can you really do this really big favor for us?" And they say, "Go to Jesus, ask him to make us his number 1 and his number 2, be greater than all the other disciples." And so I imagine the mom's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to try to help out my two kids. And so they go up to Jesus, and she asks this question, if it's possible, and if he could do it. And Jesus' response really confused the mom, the disciples, because they really didn't quite understand what Jesus was saying. Because to them, they thought by being by Jesus' side, it made them important leaders in the kingdom. But we see that Jesus already ahead of time knows that following him, it's going to require a lot of hurt, a lot of suffering. So even when you fast forward a little bit, we see all the 11 disciples are constantly being pushed and challenged by their faith, and a majority of them even died for their faith because of following Jesus. And so when we're actually reading the story, the other disciples in this passage, they actually get kind of angry at James and even John. And Jesus tells them once more, really what it means to follow him. And he says, we're not called to exalt ourselves, to serve ourselves, but we're called to love others and to serve them. And we talked a little bit about that last week, just this idea that sometimes when Jesus asks us to love and serve people, when it seems almost convenient or it's uncomfortable, but really that's when he wants us to take that step. And so we see in this story that Jesus is really emphasizing that point of we need to make ourselves servants to this world, to the people we're around, and so that they can see the love of Jesus in us. And so we're going to be looking at another verse in a different passage in Philippians. And this isn't Paul wrote this when he's writing a letter to the Philippians church. And he wrote just kind of this really great reminder that Jesus sent, and he's kind of give us that instruction of what to do. And so it's going to be on the screen. I'd love for you to join me in that. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. See, Jesus told the disciples that there's no servant is going to be greater than his master. And we see our master, Jesus, he left heaven, left his throne, and came down to earth. And he really showed us the ultimate example of what it means to be a servant. And so as we kind of get ready to wrap up, I just want to leave this a couple more thoughts with you guys. We do need leaders in God's family, in churches, all throughout. And there's nothing wrong with if you feel like God's leading you to leadership. There's nothing wrong with working towards that. But I want you guys to hear this, that even if you don't lead, that doesn't mean you can't serve. Even if you don't lead, that doesn't mean you can't serve Jesus. Because God, he needs all kinds of workers. He needs people to be his hands and feet. He needs people who are the people that are going to lead to be following and serving the people around them, the poor, the sick, homeless, needy people. He needs people to be willing to, clean bathrooms and sweep floors and He needs people to do some of the work so that Jesus can be glorified through that and in different ways. Because one day we're going to see Jesus in heaven. And Jesus is going to offer to take us to a seat at his table. But until that day happens, we have to continue to be working and finding ways to be kind of have that servant to serve Jesus, to work in a way that he's asking us to, serving others by loving on them. And so even in our passage today, I want to encourage you guys just to don't seek to be first, but be first be the first to be the one who's working to take that initiative and start doing something, and have it being even serving others, especially God's people. And so as we kind of get ready to just have a time of prayer, I just want to leave you guys with one more thought, and that's just to love others and serve others just as Jesus did when he left the throne of heaven. And so, like I said, we're going to kind of move into a time of prayer. And if there's things going on, whether it's some good things, not so good things, I'd love for you to put that in the comments, so we as a church can be praying for each other throughout the week. But let's just go to God in prayer and join me in that. Hey God, thank you so much for this time together, and for just this another reminder of what you're asking us to do. And so my prayer for us this week is just to help us put ourselves last, to humble ourselves, and really to concentrate on loving and serving others. So help us just to find ways to put others first. And so we just thank you for our time together. I just pray you continue to be with us throughout our week. Continue to keep us safe. And just in everything we do, God, I pray it just glorifies you. And it's in your name I pray. Amen. So the past few weeks we've been learning a Bible verse together. And so we're going to kind of close our time together being able to do that. And so we're going to put it on the screen and we're just going to kind of read it. We're just kind of read it, and I want you guys to whisper. So the first time you read through it, just whisper. And it comes from Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. So we're going to do it one more time, except this time I want you guys to be a little bit louder with me. We're still going to read the same Bible verse. It's going to be on the screen again, so I'd love for you to join me in that. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. So I'm so glad you guys were able to join us as we got to go through week 3 of our series. Just want you to know I'm praying for you, and I love and miss you all. Tune in next time as we look at our last game of our fall festival. And so until then, I'll talk to you guys later.